All right. Everybody good? Everybody good? Good to see you. Everybody staying in the battle. All right. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 12. A prudent man. What does the word prudent mean? What's a synonym for prudent? You heard that word before? Is that a new word to you? Prudent? A prudent man. Prudent is kind of a synonym for wise. You can substitute the word wise there. A wise man, prudent man, P-R-U-D-E-N-T, prudent or wise. A prudent or wise man sees evil and hides himself. Sees evil and hides himself. The naive, that word is N-A-I-V-E, naive. You know what that word means? We've seen it before. You remember naive? You know what naive means? What? Oblivious? Yeah, is that what you said, oblivious? Yeah, that's good. That's good. They're oblivious to what's going on around. They're not tuned in very well. They're simple, very simple. They believe everything they're told. They're not tuned in. They're not aware like they should be. They're naive. Naive, to my mind, in my brain, brings to mind a little bitty kid. And for little bitty kids, it's okay to be naive. You understand my point there? A little bitty kid is not tuned in very well. And it's kind of funny that we laugh at them. We think they're cute and cool. They're very naive and simple. That's just a little kid. But as you grow up to be your age, you ought to be growing out of that, what we call naivete, that being naive and being wiser. As you grow up, you're supposed to lay aside some of that childishness and become wiser people. So the naive, the ones that are acting like little foolish kids, they proceed. That means they go on and they pay the penalty. And you know what that means, a penalty. There's a consequence for it. So let me read it again. Now you know what the words mean. A prudent man sees evil and hides himself. The naive proceed and pay the penalty. Here's what God's saying here. He's saying, look, there are many times in life when if you're prudent, if you're wise, you will see out there ahead of you, maybe time-wise, maybe space-wise, you'll see bad stuff that could happen to you. And so he uses the word hide yourself here, which means you protect yourself from it. You're not going to let that happen to you. What was that? Oh, that's one of those walkie-talkies. You're going to protect yourself. You're not going to get into that. You're going to save yourself from that mess. Now, there's some obvious examples, just as simple things, but let's say you're driving a car down the road and you see a sign that says, bridge out ahead, turn around now. You're not going to say, you're not going to be really stupid and naive and say, maybe that sign's not true. I'm just going to try it. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to turn around. You're going to be wise. You're going to hide yourself from that danger. You see my point there? You see the problem coming and you hide yourself. Now, sometimes, that's a shame that things like this. Sometimes things aren't quite that obvious though. And you have to be prudent enough, wise enough to recognize problems that are coming when others might not recognize it. That's what God's telling you. Now, can you think of some examples of that in real life that may be a little more complicated than a bridge being out, in real life decisions and things that are happening to you, that might happen to you, where you could see problems on the horizon, you could see problems out there that you could easily get into, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to get into those problems. Can you think of any examples like that? Not coming to mind right now? Some of them have to do with money. You know what I'm saying? You could be tempted to buy something that you don't have enough money for because somebody's willing to loan you the money to buy it. Now, I'm not saying, I know I do the personal finance course, and Dave Ramsey says, stay out of debt. Well, that's really good counsel. I'm not saying that all debt is sinful. Don't get me wrong. But many, many times people go into debt for very foolish reasons. You see what I'm saying? They don't really need what they're doing. They don't really need that much. They could easily stay out of debt. And this is an example of violating this biblical principle. They ought to be seen on the horizon. Debt brings consequences, guys. People get themselves into real financial messes because of that. You know what a get-rich-quick scheme is? There are people who will hear things on the internet, sometimes it's in social media, and they'll be telling you, hey, you can make a lot of money real fast if you'll just send me X number of dollars. I've got a fail-proof investment. You're going to make a killing. You're going to make lots of money. I promise. I made $1 million. You're going to make a lot of money too. Just send me your money and invest. I'll invest it. And many times, well, just I would say all the time, those get-rich-quick schemes are traps. It may be helping the person you're sending the money get rich, but it's not going to help you get rich. And so what about gambling? You know anybody around you that gambles? There are people, especially young men, seems to be attracted more to young men than young women, but young men are very, very tempted to bet money that something's going to happen, a ball game or something like that. They want to win. They think, I'm going to get more money because I'm going to bet this will happen. And almost all the time, gambling leads to financial disaster. It's sinful to want to get something for nothing. It's wrong, and it leads to a massive problem. You need to see those things coming. A prudent man sees those things coming and hides himself. I'm not getting into that. No. You want me to gamble? No way. I'm not going to do it. Get rich quick? No way. Forget that. I know that's a trap. I'm not gambling there. More debt? No way. So there are a lot of money schemes there. But there are other things too. Like we've talked about some of these things before. There will be people in your life who are making really bad decisions, and they're wanting you to go along with them. And you realize, whoa, this is not going to have a good outcome. I'm not going down that road. No way, I'm not going down that road. We're not going to do that. That's wrong. It's going to have a bad outcome. So no, I'm not going to do it. That's obeying this verse. You're being prudent. You see the evil, you're hiding yourself. That's what he's talking about. There are people who will say things to you, and they're trying to stir something up. You know what I'm saying? They're saying something to try to get you angry, or try to get you to react, or try to get you upset. They're gigging you. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. And God says right here, if you're prudent, you'll see that evil and hide yourself. You'll say, no, I'm not going down that road. We're not going to get into that argument. We're not going to talk about that. I'm going to walk away from that. You don't have to get into every fight that comes along. God's warning you here about those kind of things. Another issue that can come up that some people have trouble with, guys seem to have trouble with this too, is medical or health issues. If you've got a health problem, a medical problem, you need to realize, this may be small, it may be trivial, it may go away on its own, but maybe it could be more serious. So I at least need to get somebody wise to help me think about it and check it out. You see what I'm saying? If you got some kind of symptoms, now you got to be careful there. You can turn into a hypochondriac. You know what a hypochondriac is? Hypochondriac, somebody that thinks they're sick all the time, even when they're not sick. They think somebody else has got a problem, and they go, I bet I've got that too. So you don't want to go down that road. But there are many, many times when guys especially will have a symptom of some kind, and they say, I'm sure it's not a big deal, and they won't deal with it. They won't do something about it, and they wind up with this very serious medical problem that could have been handled very quickly if they just checked it out in the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So you got to see the evil coming and hide yourself. So there are lots of examples in life like that. Let's read it again. A prudent man, a wise man, sees evil and hides himself. A prudent man is thinking about in life things that can happen that would be bad, that would bring bad consequences, that would be a problem. A prudent man sees it and hides himself. He doesn't let it happen. He says, I'm going to avoid that problem. The naive, that means the simple little childish acting people who are not wise, they're foolish. They just go ahead, and he says they pay the penalty. They pay a consequence for that. So God's wanting you to be wise and hide yourself from that bad stuff. Is there anything you want to add? All right, Father, I thank you for these kids, and I do pray for them to be prudent. I pray it'd help them to learn to be wise. I pray it'd help them to be discerning and recognize things that can lead to big problems and hide themselves from it and turn away from it and avoid those kind of situations. Lord, please help them to be wise. Don't let them be simple-minded. Don't let them be naive. Don't let them be childish and make foolish decisions and just head on down that dangerous road that leads to so much pain and so much difficulty and so many problems. Lord, I pray you protect them from those things and help them to learn wisdom from you, from your word, from godly counselors in their lives that you put in their lives. Help them, Lord, to make good decisions. Help them to be prudent and see the danger coming and hide themselves. Thank you for this day you've given us. Help us to walk with you, to bless you, to make you happy, to bring you joy, to represent you well, to be Christ-like all day long. We pray in his name. Amen. God bless you guys. Stay in the battle. Have a blessed day.